What do you get when a London-raised American South African and a New York-raised Moroccan meet on the interwebs and become instant soul sisters? One of them, an Ayurvedic practitioner and transformation coach, and the other, a Conspire breathwork coach and Reiki master teacher. Both obsessed with wellness, family, entrepreneurship, relationships, and the magic of human expansion and growth. You get a whole convo. We truly believe that with an open heart, focused mind, and energy receptive to the possibilities, your wellness journey can guide you to a life that exceeds your wildest dreams. Welcome to our podcast. We're Ella and Iman, and we are so happy you're here. Come vibe with us as we explore the wholeness of being through the lens of wellness. Hello and welcome to A Whole Convo with Ella and Iman. Hi Iman, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Ella, how are you? Beautiful.
I am so good, so good. And again, as ever, excited for this convo we're having today. This episode is called Human Design and Other Weird Things That Make So Much Sense. I'm
Love
excited for
that
this.
title. I'm
Yes,
so excited.
because there's so many weird things and they make so much sense.
There's so many weird things out there. But why do they resonate? Why do they work? Why do they make so
Oh,
much sense? So
oh,
many questions. We're diving in,
yeah.
starting off with human design. First of all, what's your human design story? Like, when did you discover human design?
Oh, it must be like 10 years ago now
Okay.
when I was doing a breathwork training in Italy. And one of the people who were leading the training was also studying to be a human design analyst. So, like going with the Jovian archive, like the original raw trainings.
Yeah.
And Ra Uru, who is the guy who brought human design to the world for people who don't know. So he was studying to be an analyst, and he just was like, hey, in the break time, do you want to know what your human design is? And he was like, oh, yeah, you're a projector. And he just gave me some highlights about what it meant to be a projector. And I was like, yeah, that resonates. That sounds, familiar to me. And that was it at that time. And then, oh, funnily enough, through more breathwork trainings, other people kind of mentioned about their human design. Oh, yeah, I'm a manager and I'm a this, I'm a that. And each time I got exposed to it from other people, there was like a deeper resonance. So I only had the projector bit to begin with. I didn't know about any of the other things. And then it came back to me through the Human Design Academy. Crystal, I can't think of her surname at the moment. Crystal runs the Human Design Academy. She's this amazing, gorgeous projector who lives in Spain, and she is of Filipino descent. So she was of Filipino descent, born in Canada, moved to Spain when she met and married her husband. And why did I see? I think it was during a period of time in my life where I was noticing the difference in my energy and other people's energy. I revisited it. So it would come up here and then, and I revisited it. And then Crystal's stuff really spoke to me. I started seeing more of her things. And then I went and took her reader certification to really get into it because there were so many gems when I understood about my girls' design. We're all
Mm.
projectors.
When you start understanding your children's
It's
design, does the
wild.
parenting just take a whole new
It's
definition?
just a completely different experience because even though we're all projectors, the fundamental thing that
Wow.
differentiated us was our authority. So I've got an ego projected authority, I've got an emotional authority in my girls, and I'm a splenic authority. So even just
Wow.
it just everything made so much sense about how I was experiencing them, how they experienced the world, and what that did in terms of our interaction together. And then there's the deeper and deeper layers as I was studying it and as I see it and as I experiment in my life. So tell me your human design experience, Iman.
Well, not my experience, because we're going to go deeper into that, but I'll tell you my story real quick on how I was introduced to it and
Yes,
when I found out about it.
that's what I meant. And the one
Oh,
line picked up the difference.
of course. So I think it was 2018 It was either 2018 or 2017 that I found out about it. And it was actually one of my really good friends, one of my fellow comedy sisters that I used to do stand-up comedy with back in LA when we were living there. And so we were hanging out one night and she's also, an entrepreneur and does other things as well. And so she was telling me that she went to this like event, this like business owners entrepreneurship event, and she met this girl that was sitting next to her that was telling her all about human design. So when she was sharing with me, I was like, "Oh, like what is it?" And she was like, "So it's like, it's like a little bit of astrology, like Western and Eastern astrology, the chakra system, quantum physics." She was like telling me like what it's composed of, and for me, that intrigued me because I'm just like a little, like a
One
little
line.
yeah, a little one line and a little, geek and a little science geek and just like really interested in it. And then she said, I think you're a generator and I may be a manifesting generator, my husband, who
Wow,
she
she
knew
called
well.
it.
She called it. And so when she said that, of course, my one line wanted to do research right away. And so I went home that night and I like went down the rabbit hole and I started reading up on the types first, and I was honestly blown away. I like the information I was reading up on, I was like, wow, this makes so much sense. My husband being a manifesting generator made so much sense. Me being a pure sacral generator, like no emotional authority, just needing that response, needing that hit, made so much sense. My profile, 1 3 line, girl, made so much sense. His profile 3 6 made so much sense. I was just intrigued and I was like, I was so happy because I love learning about new things
Mm,
and love learning all about, yeah, just growth and evolution. Like it is a self-development tool when you think about it, right? Like
a
period.
hundred
Like
percent.
you learn about yourself, you learn about other people, how to elevate the aspects that are already part of you, right? And
And
so
how to understand where other people are coming from in that differentiation.
exactly. And I think that was the biggest thing for me off like in the beginning. Like in the very beginning, what it did for me almost immediately, instantly, is it allowed me to understand my husband
Mm.
so much deeper than I ever thought possible because and we're obsessed with the relationships. We had already written a relationship book by this time. We've been together for a long time. Him and I have a really like magical, unique bond and relationship. We're super close. And so the way he grew up is different than the way I grew up. The way he was parented is different. So there, as aligned as we are and as close as we are, there's so many different aspects of us that at times I would be so confused on why he did the things he did.
Yeah, I'm chuckling because it's like sometimes it be like that, right? Like, what's going
Sometimes I just
on?
feel like that with people, period. Usually, my conditioning was to judge it.
Mm.
My conditioning was to be like, oh, that's not really the best way you could do it. There's a really more evolved, better way to do things. And human design allowed me to appreciate the way he did things on such a beautiful level. Like as a manifesting generator, I'm sure anyone listening that knows about human design, the first thing that they know about manifesting generators is that they do a lot. They can juggle a lot. They are actually designed to do a lot. And so
All at
much
once.
all at once, and so much so that they don't need to finish or complete anything at all. They can, and so for me in the beginning, like you can imagine a relationship, I'm like, is he scatterbrained?
Is
Is
he,
he
are you well?
are you well? That whole, that statement of you're a little all over the place, just so many things that I was like, wow, fascinated. And they're new to me because as a pure generator, I am step by step. I am like that staircase, they call it, of like doing things. And it has to be one thing at a time, and I master things.
You're building it brick by brick
I
by brick.
master, like my husband always jokes, like, yeah, you had to get a master's degree in Ayurveda integrated medicine because I'm obsessed with mastering the knowledge, one thing. And so I think that's one of the most exciting parts of human design for me when I first discovered it is how it deepened my understanding for my relationship with my husband. Human design single-handedly allowed me to understand so many parts of
Mm,
my husband's
mm.
ways, and it deepened our relationship, and it deepened the patience and the, compassion threshold. And I'm like, yeah, babe, that makes sense. You do need to juggle 28 million things at once while I'm over here focusing on this one thing.
Yeah,
And
you
that's
you be
okay.
all over the place. Do it.
So that's how like I was introduced to it. And when I shared it with my husband, he loved it as well. And, we both got certified. We found a teacher that resonated with us, Karen Curry Parker. She created quantum human design, which, although she learned directly from Rauru, who was the founder of human design, and she was one of his students, she elevated the language of it. Like a generator is an alchemist, manifesting generator is a time bender because they literally need to skip steps. So she has a beautiful way of explaining human design that we resonated with. So we got certified with her. And that's kind of like the introduction of human design, yeah, for me.
I think something I want to pick up on that you said about that understanding of your husband, and what I love about human design is it gives us a framework and a language to express things. So one thing I find when I've given readings to people is it's just like, oh yeah, that's so familiar. That's so familiar. It's me. So there are things that are so innate within us that
Right.
we don't even recognize someone else may see as why are you like this, or why do you experience the world like this, or why does that come naturally to you. So it gives us a common point of reference and language to support that understanding of our differentiation. So, one of the big things about human design, one of the core principles is that encouragement to be different. So, we can talk about you and your husband being a type of generator. But then there's the differentiation in the fact that he's a manifesting generator and you're a pure generator. So that adds a layer of distinction in how you process the energy. So I think we need to back up and just say human design is composed of certain elements like you mentioned. We look at the chakra system, we look at Western astrology, we look at the I Ching, we look at quantum physics,
The
we look at
Kabbalah and
the
Eastern.
Kabbalah, exactly. And so it's comprised of all these elements, and it offers us a tool to understand ourselves. But I think it's so important to say as well that human design is not about a prescriptive, this is who you are. And
Right.
that means that you can only do things in a certain way. I feel like it's a guidebook, it's a reference. We talk a lot of in human design about blueprints, our energy blueprints, and it explains how we experience energy internally and what is our most consistent access to certain parts of energy and how that is expressed into the world and how then other people will experience that energy and how that causes us to interact with the energy in the world around us. And to me, that's what part of what makes it so delicious because it works
Yes.
on so many different levels of our internal understanding, but also then how we process the world around us and other people as a result.
Exactly. I think utilizing, whether it's human design or any other modality, we'll talk about other weird things too that make so much sense here on this episode. But any, philosophy or any modality or anything that can be used as a tool to elevate and expand our being, whether it's feeling more in tune with ourselves, which we talk a lot about authenticity in this podcast. So whether it's like feeling more authentic, which I think human design as a tool does provide. Honestly, it did it for me. A lot of, my human design clients are people that I've done readings for. Like you said, that is the first feeling, that is the first expression, is that they feel seen. They feel the
Absolutely.
permission of being their authentic self because things
Absolutely.
start lining up and making sense on how they, you know, amplify certain energies. So I think anything that can be used as a tool to better our existence is positive in my book. Why we say even weird things is like it can get a little bit blurry and there's a little bit of gray area when it comes to these kind of modalities and practices that may not be rooted 100% in like proof or science or actual like people always want to question where did it come from?
Mm, mm,
And so where is that line of allowing a tool or having a modality that can bring so much growth
mm.
and positivity into someone's life without judging where it makes sense for you?
Yeah. And I think, that's something that regardless of how controversial or not Ra may have been in certain communication and how, especially I think given in this, because it came to in 1987, like the how the world has changed over that period of time, um, is one of the things I love that he says is, I'm telling you all these things. I'm speaking about generators. I'm speaking about projectors. I'm speaking about and I'm speaking about three lines and people who have defined this and undefined that. And his underlying thing, I'm said all of this, but the most important thing is you go out and you experiment for yourself.
Exactly. That's
No?
my favorite. That's my favorite thing as well about it. The human design is rooted in experimentation, which is the philosophy I literally live by. And like I am a proof of that. Like even in my health, even in how I explored Ayurveda, even with my digest, everything has been me wanting to experiment and do the work to prove to myself, does it resonate or does it not?
And what can I take? What's good
What can I
and
take?
what can I leave behind?
Leave what doesn't resonate and take what works. That is literally the definition of growth and evolution.
Hmm.
So I'm all
Absolutely.
about that.
Absolutely. And this is one of the reasons. And as well, I think we're not even skimming the surface of what human design is,
Right, right,
because
of
it
course.
goes into the way that we sleep. It goes into the type of environments that are more favorable for us. It goes
Right.
into the way that we eat. Just there's so much
Yeah,
depth
my
and
husband needs a
richness to
cave,
it.
and that is so accurate.
And me and my daughter have internal markets that are quite often conflicting. So, yeah, there's
Right.
just so much richness that is available to. And many people talk about when they discover human design as well, about going down the rabbit hole because it really can be
It
that way.
can take you down the rabbit hole, but
It
it's so much fun. One thing I will say, and I'm actually glad that human design has expanded in the way it is, because one thing that I felt a little uncomfortable with when I first discovered human design is there weren't a lot of people that looked like us talking about it. But now there's so many more, which is great.
and we love that. And that's just something before we
It's
go on to other
important. I
weird
think it's
things.
important because a lot of people need to see it's like television or film or commercials. Like in life, it
Representation.
feels so good and more comforting to
Mm.
see yourself and other people because it opens you up to like understanding and listen, from a different place where you feel like, okay, they get me.
Yeah, it makes more sense. And then just before we end, the when we're saying Ra's message was a lot about experimenting. And also, his thing was people learning human design so that they understand their children better and how to parent to meet those children's needs, particularly if there are different types. And my mum's a
Totally.
generator. I'm a projector, so there's a lot of disconnect in our energy, um, and that ties in so perfectly to the episode that we had about wellness as a legacy, as the most important legacy of all.
Yeah, like look at what you're doing for your daughters to even add that layer. See, this is the thing. It's adding another layer of understanding. There's something extremely powerful about understanding when it comes to our world. That's usually
Absolutely.
where the chaos and the disconnect happens, and all this madness that we go through is a lack of understanding. And I think human
Hmm.
design is such a great tool to add understanding to our own selves and to other people. So I can't wait to, hear from others who are listening in if they've ever
What's your human
it's a human
design
design,
experience?
yeah, and
Yeah.
what their human design experience is. Now, one other thing, I mean, you can share more weird things that make so much sense that you want, but I want to talk about Reiki. Another
Okay.
weird thing that makes so much sense. No one better than to share and enlighten us than you, Ella.
Okay, so why is it a weird thing for you? Tell me why it's a weird
Well,
thing
no,
for you.
weird thing. I'm just saying it's not necessarily a weird thing for me, weird in our society that
Yes,
energetic healing and energetic work
can have an impact.
has that connotation of weird. Just like human design, it's not necessarily weird for me,
Yes,
but it is a weird thing for society
just
and most
generally.
generally.
And
So Reiki, I feel, is like one of those things.
100%. And have you what's your experience of Reiki been?
So I had maybe three three or four Reiki sessions in my life and my experience, and I've enjoyed all of them.
Oh, I love it. And how did you come to
And they
Reiki?
were all so different,
Yes. Yes. How did you
which
come
I
to it?
love.
How did it come into your life?
As a one line, that's
You
always
researched it up.
as an investigator and a one line profile person. There is nothing that excites me more in life than researching and finding things out. So this is how my life plays out, Ella, like every day.
You know,
If I'm ever
so
sitting
sorry,
down,
Iman. I just have to say, this is so wild to me to hear how you do things. It's just like, what do you mean?
oh yeah. Yeah, and that's why in human design, specifically quantum human design by Karen Curry Parker's language, one lines are resources. We are literally like anything and everything you can think of, most likely a one line will have the answer, or at least tell you where to go find out. So my life plays out this way where if I'm ever feeling something or thinking something and I'm like, oh, I wonder like what that's like, or if there's something out there like this, I will start researching. So I think I've mentioned in previous episodes, the whole journey of healing for me personally had a lot to do with like unraveling, the suppression and the
Mm.
authenticity and just like not self-sabotaging, the whole disappointment stuff with parenting, all that stuff. In my journey of that realization that that's like something that I need to work on, in that era is when I discovered Reiki. Because you know how people say, oh, let's go on a shopping spree. And they go like to all these different
I mean,
shops.
here and here and here and
I
here.
went on like a healing spree, like inner work spree. And I just started researching all types of things. I researched Reiki, all kinds of different energy work, rapid transformational therapy. I did RTT and I did hypnosis for the first time during that era in my life. So I've done and experimented with a lot of things after doing the research on them. One three-line baby through and through. And so that's how I discovered Reiki. But the concept of like energy work and healing, hands off and all that, I just know the concept. But you can share more about that and why is it a weird thing that makes so much sense?
It's a weird thing because we can't see energy yet.
Yeah.
Energy runs through every single aspect. And I like understanding the intersection of where we can say, well, energy, how can you prove that energy is real? How can you be talking about energy? How can you say that you feel a vibe from someone? And then
Mm.
at the exact same time, we know that in science, when we're looking in physics, everything is
Everything's
based on
energy.
vibration and energy, was it Nicole Tesla said, if you want to understand the universe, think about it in terms of energy and frequency and vibration. And I'm paraphrasing what he said, but I think something
Yeah.
along those lines. So the idea, and I came to Reiki as a three line, had no idea what it was. Let me go and see what this thing is. And it was introduced to me. I was experiencing PTSD
Mm.
from my relationship. And I went to go and see a spiritual healer. A friend of mine took me to go see this spiritual healer. He gave me a whole load of things, but he said, you need to go and get Reiki. go and
Mm.
get some Reiki. So I was like, okay, where do I go and get Reiki?
Yeah.
And when I didn't look, I didn't know what Reiki was. I didn't try to find out what it was. I was like, where do I go and get it? Three line. Went and had this Reiki session. And before I'd gone to it, I was having PTSD symptoms. I was really, really like closed down in my life, unable to go out without having like episodes, flashbacks, all kinds of different things happening. And I went to this Reiki session and it was really mind blowing the things that I was experiencing. Because, like you said, no, none of the sessions that you had were the same. So I had visions, I heard things, there were sensations that I felt at one point. It felt like there's loads of hands on my body, even though there was just one person delivering the energy. So it was quite intriguing. And then I
Yeah,
had,
it was intriguing.
to have that experience and to know that my humanness can be connected to so many unexplainable things.
It's fascinating.
It is, and the important thing was I felt so much better afterwards.
Hmm.
So it had that impact of softening my experience of the PTSD and the symptoms and the the symptoms, let's call it, of
Yeah.
that period of time in my life. And then I had a few sessions along the way until it came to the point where someone at my yoga studio, one of the teachers was a Reiki teacher, and she was like, "Oh, do you want to let's do a Reiki course together?" And they just kind of, yeah, okay, let's do that. And it was so interesting to then be attuned to Reiki. So Reiki is a Japanese healing modality, and the word Reiki is composed of Rei, universally guided, and Ki, life force energy. So it's this idea that you have hands-on healing and you are channeling through a universally guided experience, life force energy into a person to
Hmm.
help meet them where they are. And the premise of Reiki is you are the channel. The person who delivers the Reiki is the channel. You're not a healer. You're not the person who's doing anything. You're a conduit to bring that life force energy and channel it to the person that you're working with. And because it's an intelligent energy and it's universally guided, it meets the person where they are to help support them on
And what
all
they
levels.
need at that
Exactly.
space and time.
Exactly. And that physically, emotionally, spiritually, um, mentally. Did I say physically and and energetically, of course, what
Yeah.
do I need? So if we go back to the premise that everything is energy, so everything's vibrating on different frequencies. So things that appear more solid have a lower vibrational frequency, but if we were to look at them under a powerful microscope, we'd see that they're moving, very, very, very
Yeah.
slowly. And then we have that, sometimes we have that sense when we meet someone, oh, that their vibe was a bit off. I could
Yeah.
feel something. So we do interact with energy in ways that we're not necessarily wholly conscious of. And it's that like sixth sense of communication that we
Mhm.
have as human beings, and the more we tap into it and the more we become aware of it, the more heightened our understanding of energy becomes. And so being able to converse with that through Reiki and bring in that deeper dimension of understanding is such a powerful way to elevate. We speak about this a lot, elevate our experience and to bring us back into harmony. And, like the idea that I can be a conduit through my hands
Yeah.
of energy that has a higher intelligence, a higher level of expression through a human being does sound pretty weird. Yeah. And yet, even just in me thinking about and inviting the Reiki energy, and I start to feel how it affects my system and
Hmm.
how it has that peaceful tone and at how it welcomes in that idea of creating that harmony and creating that beautiful interconnection with human beings. And, I could then continue to, as we continue with this particular episode, welcome the Reiki energy into the space.
Right. Why not? Do it.
And I'm saying that and I'm seeing your face change. So it's it's a beautiful example, again going back to another episode about ancient healing arts and ancient connection to nature, because when we talk about hands-on healing, we can go to religious texts, we can go back to, look, if you bang your elbow, you're gonna like want to give it a rub, aren't you? And it's a natural thing to want to put that
Right.
awareness, that connection, that physical
The
energy,
contact
yeah, by
of
making that
nurture and
contact.
healing. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's intrinsic in us as human beings, and there's so many dimensions on which it works. And there's a lot of there's empirical evidence, the experiences that we have, and so many things I can tell you about clients that I've worked with Reiki. And at the same time, more and more scientific evidence is
Right.
coming in to the effect that having Reiki in hospitals, in medical treatments, there are some people who are Reiki. I can't remember the term that they're given, but people are actually, and this is particularly in America, having the option of having a Reiki person in the room when they are having an operation,
That makes sense. Yeah.
to help smooth out the experience and to help their body, to help the impact on their body be reduced so that they can go into a healing space more quickly. So
Love
this
that.
is
Makes
it's
so much.
it's beautiful.
I already know that we need a part two of this
Oh
episode.
yeah, that's a
So,
whole. We've got
so
a whole
that's
convo on
so
that.
exciting that we already know this is part one. Okay, for all those listening. Human design and other weird things that make so much sense. Part two will definitely be coming because I want to talk about astrology and other things that I'm sure you're thinking
Oh,
about as well.
we could take this
And
in
kind of
so
dig
many
in a little bit
ways.
more with the human design. So I think I'll end it with saying this and why there has to be an episode two, not because we want to say more, but because I want to end it in this way. I think those things, weird or not, even if you don't think they're weird, right? Weird or not, make so much sense and make us feel so good, right? When we are experiencing them, because there's so much more to life than just what we know and understand.
Or that we can physically
I
see and
think
touch.
that's really where it is. Exactly. Even understanding, like on a mental level, right? Like your capacity of understanding it from an intellectual space. I don't think that our evolution and our healing and our life should end there. If it
Mhm.
doesn't make intellectual sense, we should totally negate it. And I think that's why so many weird things make so
Makes so
much
much sense. Absolutely. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Thank you so much for being here for this episode.
Thank you so much, everyone who's listening in. Look out for part two. And again, we're so, so happy to be sharing all our thoughts on this juicy, juicy topic for you in part two. Thanks for listening to A Whole Convo with Ella and Iman.
Till next time.
That is a wrap on this week's convo. We had a blast talking to you.
Thank you for sharing your time, hearts, and minds with us.
We hope this episode left you thinking, feeling, and maybe even breathing a little deeper. If it moved something in you, please share it, text it to a friend, or just sit with it.
Remember, the power of change can start with the simplest convo.
And if you have any comments or thoughts you'd like to share with us, please feel free to do so. We'd love to connect with you. Don't forget to subscribe to our show so you never miss a moment of the magic. And if you're curious about any of our services and offerings, check out the show notes for all the links and goodies. We're so grateful you're on this journey with us. Until next time,
Stay rooted, stay whole.